The sky was purple the night Daniel died. 15 years ago, the world crumbled around 15-year-old Clara when the fire devoured her home, and him. Her best friend, her first love. Daniel, he'd pushed her out of the burning house, choking on smoke, screaming her name as the flames swallowed him whole. They never found his body, only his necklace, twisted and scorched, laying where he fell. She wore it every day, even now. Clara never spoke much about that night. The world moved on, she did too, sort of. She built a life, studied architecture, and worked in the city, designing safe places for people to live. But every year on the anniversary, she returned to Ashbine, the town with more memories than people. This year felt different. It started with a letter, no stamp, no return address, just her name, scrawled in a hand she hadn't seen in 15 years. I found it, the house, it's here. The paper was old, faded, smelled of earth. Come alone. She tried to throw it away, she really did. But something in her stomach twisted, and the pull in her chest, familiar, sharp and terrifying, dragged her to the edge of town, to a place she had never seen. A narrow dirt path hidden behind the forest line. And there it was. A house. But it wasn't supposed to be there. It wasn't on any map. It wasn't in the county's records. It should not have existed. Wooden, pale blue, windows like empty eyes. And the front door stood open, as if it had been waiting just for her. She stepped inside. Dust blanketed everything like a shroud. Furniture stood untouched, as though the owners had just stepped out. She touched the wall. It was warm. Breathing, she swore she could feel a heartbeat. Then came the voice, faint, whispering, "Clara." She froze, her own breath caught in her throat. "Clara, help me." It wasn't possible, it couldn't be him. She turned, eyes scanning the room. But the voice came again, stronger, from below. From the basement. Clara had never believed in ghosts, but now she wasn't sure what she believed. Her hands trembled as she opened the door to the basement, revealing a narrow staircase that vanished into darkness darker than any night. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice cracking. And the voice, his voice, answered, "I've been waiting for you." The steps creaked beneath Clara's feet, each one protesting her weight like a warning she didn't want to hear. The air thickened the deeper she went. It wasn't just cold, it was heavy, like it had never been breathed before. Her flashlight flickered. She froze. "Daniel," she called again, forcing the word through the tightness in her chest. Her voice sounded small in the thick silence, swallowed by the pitch-black air. Then there it was again. "Clara, please don't leave me." It was his voice, exactly the way she remembered, but how? She reached the bottom of the stairs and stopped. The basement was massive, far bigger than the house above. That didn't make sense, nothing about this place did. Stone walls stretched endlessly in every direction, lined with doors, dozens of them. Wooden, metal, rusted, ancient. Some had markings, some had names. Some looked like they were breathing. She stepped forward, and that's when the necklace burned against her skin. She gasped, yanking it off her neck. The chain was glowing faintly, as if reacting to the space. And then the room shifted. The farthest door creaked open. A voice floated from it, clearer, closer. "I'm here, Clara, but something's wrong. I'm not alone." Her heart stopped. Not alone, Clara's breath quickened. She stepped toward the door, her shoes crunching on something she didn't dare look at. The moment she reached it, her flashlight gave out, plunging her into total darkness. Then click, a dim blue light buzzed to life inside the room. It cast shadows against the walls, revealing something that made Clara's blood run cold. A mirror. Tall, ancient, covered in symbols, and behind the glass, Daniel. But he wasn't alone. Behind him stood a shadow. It had no face, just eyes. Burning red, watching her with something that felt like hunger. Clara staggered back, and that's when the voice behind her whispered, "Now that you've come, you can't leave." Clara spun around, but there was no one there. Only silence. Thick, smothering, alive. Her eyes darted back to the mirror. Daniel was still there, still trapped. His mouth moved rapidly behind the glass, his fists banging again, desperately. She stepped closer, trying to read his lips. "Don't trust the house." Her breath caught. "It feeds on memory. And then, it's not just me." Suddenly, the symbols on the mirror began to glow. Faint blue at first, then pulsing. Like a heartbeat, Clara reached out instinctively, drawn to it even though every instinct screamed for her to stop. Her fingers touched the cold glass. It rippled, and for the briefest second, she felt Daniel's palm meet hers from the other side. A surge of heat shot up her arm, images flooding her mind. Daniel in a dark tunnel, doors slamming. Screams, the fire, and then a vision of her own face. Older, twisted in fear, standing in this very room but burning. Clara stumbled back, gasping. The house was showing her what could be. What might be, or what already was. "Why are you doing this?" she shouted, not sure who she was even talking to. And the voice, calm, female, and utterly wrong, answered from the darkness. To keep him alive, we needed you. Clara's stomach twisted. A figure stepped into the light. As if born from the shadows, a woman in a black dress. Skin pale as bone, eyes like glass marbles. You remember the fire, but not what came after, she said, smiling like a secret. He didn't die saving you, he was taken. Clara shook her head. No, I saw it, I saw the fire. You saw what we let you see. Pain is the best disguise. The woman stepped closer, but now you're here. And the house remembers its deal. What deal? Clara whispered. The woman tilted her head. You walk away. And he disappears forever. You stay and take his place. The mirror behind her began to sing. A low, hollow hum that felt like a heartbeat made of sorrow. Clara looked at Daniel, at the necklace in her hand, at the house that shouldn't exist. And then she asked the question she never thought she'd have to ask. What happens if I choose to break the deal? The woman's smile faded, and the walls began to bleed. The blood trickled slowly, thick, dark and silent from the cracks in the stone walls. It slid over carvings Clara hadn't noticed before. Names etched deep into the foundation, most of them half erased by time. But one name stood out. Hers. Clara stepped back, heart hammering. What is this place? She demanded, her voice trembling. The woman in black tilted her head again, her glassy eyes blinking once, slow and empty. This house was never built, it was summoned. By sorrow, by sacrifice, by you. Liar, Clara spat, but her voice cracked. The woman didn't flinch. You were there the night the deal was made, you just don't remember. Clara's mind reeled. Flashes hit her like lightning, her childhood. The whispers she ignored, the way her dreams always ended in fire. The necklace around her neck had never been just a memory, it was a binding. Daniel screamed behind the glass. His face panicked, mouthing one word over and over. Run! But Clara couldn't move, because the mirror had begun to crack. Hairline fractures webbed across it like a spider's design, each one glowing brighter. Daniel reached toward her with both hands now, and she could see it in his eyes. He wasn't afraid for himself, he was afraid for her. The woman in black began to hum, and as her song filled the air, the doors around the basement began to open, one by one. From each doorway, figures emerged. Children, teens, adults. Eyes hollow, movements slow. Some were crying, some were smiling. All of them were whispering her name. They were memories made flesh. The house was showing her the price of every forgotten sorrow, every quiet regret she'd buried deep. You're not just here for Daniel, the woman said. You're here because you were the first to see us. The first to feel the door between worlds. Clara's legs buckled, she fell to her knees, the blood now seeping toward her shoes. I don't want this, she whispered. You already chose, the woman whispered, kneeling beside her. Clara looked up. No, she said, stronger this time. I'm choosing now. She turned back to the mirror. Daniel had placed something against the glass. Okay. It shimmered, pulsing like a heartbeat. The cracks around the glass began to widen. And then she heard the sound that would haunt her forever. The mirror whispered her name back. Clara. Her name echoed from the mirror, not in Daniel's voice but in her own. It was like listening to herself speak from a place where air didn't exist, where light didn't reach, where time folded in on itself and forgot how to move forward. The key on the other side began to glow brighter, and the cracks around the glass pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. She stepped forward slowly, her fingers trembling. The mirror whispered again. Choose. Behind her, the woman in black rose from the floor, her shadow stretching far too long. If you touch the key, she said coldly, you unlock everything, the truth, the grief, the others. Clara didn't answer. Her eyes were locked on Daniel's. He didn't speak, he didn't beg. He simply nodded, once his eyes filled with hope and fear and something else that shattered her. Love. She reached for the glass. Her fingers passed through it like water. The cold was so deep it stole her breath. She wrapped her hand around the key. And the moment she touched it, everything changed. The walls shook violently, the blood reversed, flowing back into the cracks like time was unraveling. The glowing doors slammed shut one by one, and the woman in black let out a scream that split the basement like thunder. You fool, she roared, her voice no longer human. Clara was lifted off the floor, wind spinning around her like a storm had bloomed inside the house. She clutched the key tightly, and from the mirror, Daniel reached through. He grabbed her hand, but the glass was shattering. Pieces flew in every direction, slicing the air, slicing her arms. Slicing him, Clara screamed, her hand slipping. No, I won't lose you again, she cried. I've got you, Daniel said, his voice full of fire and life and truth. Their hands locked, and then the entire basement exploded in light. When Clara opened her eyes, she was lying on a cold stone floor. But the mirror was gone. The basement was empty. The woman was nowhere, and Daniel was standing above her. Real. Alive. Tears streamed down her face as she reached up and touched his cheek. Warm, breathing, human. I thought I lost you, she whispered. You almost did, he replied, but you remembered. Clara sat up, blinking away the dizziness. What was that place? Daniel looked around. A prison built by grief. Fueled by forgotten pain. The house never wanted to hurt anyone, it just didn't know how to let go. Clara looked at the glowing key still clutched in her hand. What do I do with this? Daniel's expression turned serious. You still have a choice, he said quietly. We're not the only ones trapped. There are others. Do we walk away with our freedom? Or do we go back in and set them all free? Clara looked toward the staircase that now led to an open door. The night waited beyond it, but so did the screams of the forgotten behind the doors that never opened. Clara stood shaky on her feet, the key still glowing in her palm like it had a heartbeat of its own. Daniel watched her silent. Outside the open door at the top of the stairs, moonlight spilled in, soft, peaceful, safe. But behind her, the basement hummed again. The doors, all of them, still closed, still waiting. I can't just leave them, Clara whispered, her voice breaking. I heard them calling me. Daniel nodded, his voice low. They've been waiting a long time. Some for decades, some for centuries. They're trapped in memories that don't belong to them anymore. Clara turned slowly, staring at the long corridor of doors. Each one seemed to breathe faintly in and out, like lungs waiting for air, waiting for her. But how, she asked. The house, it feeds on them. Daniel stepped closer. That's why you're the only one who can open the doors now. The house doesn't control the key anymore. You do. Clara looked down. The key had changed. It wasn't glowing blue anymore. It was now gold, warm, almost humming. Etched into the metal was a single word. Remembrance. Suddenly, one of the doors began to cry, not creak, cry. A deep, sobbing sound from behind it, like someone forgotten too long. Someone who had lost even the memory of their own name. Clara didn't hesitate. She stepped toward it. As her hand touched the door, a voice reached through the wood. Please, don't let me disappear. She turned to Daniel. Open it with me. He took her free hand, always. Together, they turned the key. The door flew open, not to another room, but to a memory, one Clara didn't recognize. A young boy sat on a swing beneath an old oak tree. Alone, crying, his clothes were torn. His shoes missing, behind him. Shadows waited, whispering cruel things. But when he saw Clara, his eyes widened. You came, he said. I've been waiting. Clara stepped forward and reached out her hand. The moment she touched his, the memory dissolved. The door vanished, and where it once stood, only a single white feather remained, floating gently to the ground. Daniel looked at her, awe in his eyes. You freed him. Clara turned to face the next door. Then we keep going, she said, until they're all free. But far behind them, in the deepest part of the house, the woman in black stirred from the shadows, smiling. You've begun the end, she whispered, and the house is hungry. The hallway grew darker with each door Clara opened. Not because the light was fading, but because the house was changing. It no longer felt still, it breathed deeper now, like a beast stirring in its sleep. The floorboards moaned, not with age but warning. The walls pulsed as if blood moved through them, and the air, once cold and silent, was now listening. Clara opened the fifth door. This time, the memory belonged to a girl with a broken violin and no mouth. She hovered above a frozen lake, eyes wide, screaming soundlessly. When Clara touched her hand, music flooded the hallway, a lullaby filled with sadness, and the girl vanished in a swirl of golden light. Another soul released. But with each rescue, the house grew louder, angrier, more alive. Daniel gripped Clara's arm. We're close to something, I can feel it. Clara nodded, her fingers were trembling now. Not from fear, but from remembrance. Every door opened unlocked something in her. 2 pieces of forgotten grief. Dreams she had pushed away, moments she should have questioned. Like why no one ever found Daniel's body. Or why her memories of that night stopped exactly when the fire began. I think the house erased part of my mind, she said slowly, not just hid it, cut it out. Daniel's face darkened. It does that. If you get too close to the truth, it rewrites you. Clara reached into her pocket and pulled out the golden key. It flickered once, twice, then stopped glowing altogether. The hallway fell silent, and the floor beneath their feet cracked. From deep below, a sound rose up, a chorus of whispers, like every voice they hadn't saved yet had suddenly realized something was wrong. But it was too late. The house opened its mouth. A staircase split open from the floor, leading down, way down into the part of the house no one had ever seen, not even Daniel. The key in Clara's hand turned black, cold, heavy, and somewhere below, the woman in black laughed softly. You thought you were saving them. Her voice echoed up, but you were just waking me. The staircase yawned open beneath them, dark and endless. Clara stared down into it, heart pounding. The black key pulsed like a warning in her hand. Heavier now, colder, but she didn't flinch. She looked at Daniel. If we go down there, we don't come back the same. He nodded, his jaw tight. If we don't go, none of them ever come back at all. So they descended, step by step, into the true heart of the house. The walls dripped with memories, visions of people crying out, forgotten birthdays, whispered prayers, screams no one answered. The air pressed against their skin like sorrow made physical. Still, they moved forward, past hundreds of unmarked doors. Some bled, some breathed, some begged. At the very end of the hallway was a single door. Unlike the others, this one was pure white. Smooth, no handle, no hinges, only a lock. And above it, scrawled in shaking, childlike letters, the first memory. Clara stepped closer. The black key buzzed violently in her hand, as if warning her not to continue. Daniel whispered, "This is the moment everything began." Clara hesitated. "What happens if I open it?" "I think," Daniel said, his voice hollow, "it will show you the truth, the one the house never wanted you to remember." She raised the key, slid it into the lock. Click. The door opened, and inside was herself, a little girl hiding under a table, watching as fire bloomed across the living room, watching as her father screamed, as her mother collapsed, as Daniel, 12 years old, ran into the flames to save her. But then the vision shifted. She saw herself whispering into the shadows, "Bring him back, please, take me instead." And something in the dark answered. It didn't take her body, it took her memory. Her past, her light, it twisted the truth, made her forget the deal she made, the trade she chose. And the house was born from that moment. A house of sorrow, of lost things, of broken promises. Clara fell to her knees. "I did this," she whispered. "I made the house." Daniel knelt beside her, putting his hands on hers. "No, you made a choice out of love. But now we can choose again." Clara looked up. The room began to fall apart, walls shaking, doors bursting open, souls once trapped, now rising in golden light. A flood of warm wind swept through the space as the house began to collapse from the inside out. One last time, Clara stood. She looked at Daniel. "Go." He frowned. "What?" "You're free now, you were always meant to live. And you." She smiled softly, tears in her eyes. "I'm going to finish what I started." Clara turned, stepped into the heart of the house, and closed the door behind her. Outside, Daniel burst through the forest as the house burned. No flames, just light. So much light. And when it was gone, there was nothing left. No ash, no ruin. Only a single white feather drifting to the earth. And in the wind, a whisper. She remembered.